Docker and containers are used interchangeably these days. What are containers or Docker, and how are they different from virtual machines? And why containers are becoming so popular, especially in last 4 or 5 years? We are going to look at all this in today's episode. Welcome to part one of five-part video series on Docker and Kubernetes with me, Atul Kumar from team K2 Academy, where we help you in your journey to cloud and cloud-native applications like Docker and Kubernetes. But before we tell you the difference between virtual machine and Dockers, let me give you some context. Now, I have a training on Docker and Kubernetes, including certification, where we cover both Docker and Kubernetes in detail, right from complete beginner to making you certified Docker and Kubernetes administrator. Now, for beginners who have no knowledge about Docker or Kubernetes, we run a lot of free trainings and get a lot of repeat questions like what is Docker or containers or Kubernetes or what to use when and what are the architecture and components of Docker and Kubernetes look like. So from these free trainings by Microsoft certified trainer and Kubernetes expert Mamta, I picked up different common questions and created a five-part video series. And this is what I'm going to cover over next 5 episodes. Also, at the end of this episode, I'll give you free access to this approximately 2 hours training, including how to become certified Kubernetes administrator. But let's first watch this first part of this five-part video series where our Docker and Kubernetes expert Mamta will first start with the difference between the virtual machine and the containers. That's a Docker. And the reason why Dockers became so popular in last 5 6 years. Now, unlike virtual machines, the different containers running on a host all will share the same operating system on which they run. So she will then cover the underlying container technology to explain you how different containers running on the same OS will provide isolation using the namespaces and the control groups. So let's see what she has to say.
Let's understand why people are being so crazy in the market about Docker and containers or Kubernetes type of terms, right? And we will draw our analogy from virtual machine because that is something we have been working on from last few years. So to coming with that analogy, let's first try and understand what's the difference between a physical server and a virtual machine. Then we would be able to draw the complete picture. What is the advantage of moving towards containers compared to the virtual machine? So let me quickly pull my sketchbook. Yeah. So when we were in the physical machine world and we had a single server and I have to run an application, I get a server, I run an application and I host that application and I can reach it from outside. And if I have to run another application, if I run it on the same server with a different port number as well and able to reach over here, I can't guarantee the isolation over here. I can't guarantee that the application 1 and application 2 will not trouble each other. They will not eat away the bandwidth or the resources which are needed for each other, right? The isolation was a problem. And in case I have to run one more application, what we used to do, we used to go buy one more set of server, run a set of application in that. So A2 is not happy running here. Even though there are two different types of application, I would go buy a physical server and run the second application over here. And now this is having a dedicated set of resources. So it is happy running over there. Then the era came of the virtual machine in which VMware mentioned, or even before to that, IBM came with this technology, and we understood that on the same piece of hardware, I have a software called as Hypervisor, and I can go beyond the hardware. I can abstract myself from the hardware and I can run several machines inside this, and they would be in an isolated environment. I have machine 1 and I have machine 2, and they are running in an isolated environment. I have a dedicated set of resources for this, like 2 virtual CPUs, a 4 GB RAM, and same way for this as well, you can dedicate a set of resources. So people became pretty happy, and there was a drastic shift towards the virtual machine world. It was a complete change. Everyone left the servers, physical servers, they installed hypervisors into that, and they started using virtual machine. Exactly, we have reached the same era now, and we are moving out from virtual machines because we attained a set of advantages at that point in time. but we couldn't utilize the complete set of resources what was being provided by these particular hardware, and we were still struggling in few of the things. Like, I would take you back to the slides and then explain you. So we would learn about why virtual machines are having a set of drawbacks. And in case we have a virtual machine, we have an hypervisor. I'm running a guest operating system, and I am running binaries and the libraries, and then on top of it, there is an application. And if I have another set of virtual machine running, I have the guest operating system, I have the library binaries, and I have the set of services running on top of it, right? So what happens if I have to package? This packaging comes with the guest operating system. And what is the size of an operating system? To take an example of a Red Hat 7.3 RTL 7, it would be around 7 to 8 GBs. And when I'm saying I'm packaging 8 GBs, then the binaries, then the application. So what happens? The machines are getting the advantage that they have left the hardware level base. They are not virtualized environment, but they don't have the advantage that they are becoming bulky in nature. Even though they are having a dedicated OS, they are taking a lot of time to start, and they are becoming bulky in complete bring up. Why? Because this guest operating system takes a huge amount of time to boot up. When we are packaging, when we take a VMDK file, the image or a snapshot of a virtual machine, it's too bulky. So these machines are too heavy. And when I have to share an image, it is a too heavy image. So let's come back to containers and understand what are the advantages these containers are providing us, right? So I would have exactly same set of hardwares, and I would be having an operating system, and on top of it I would be running a containerized platform. Like, for example, Docker is one of the containerized platform, but Docker became so famous in the market that Docker has become a synonym for containers. So when we say Docker, it's actually, it has replaced the word containers in our world, right? So we are running any type of containerized environment. There are different containerized environments. There are Linux containers, there are Rocket containers, there are Mesos containers, and one of the famous one is the Docker containers. And if you see, this host operating system is shared across all the containers. And if I'm running the binaries and the applications, I am not having any OS attached to it. The bulky operating system has gone. So in the case of virtual machine, the operating system was sitting and eating the resources in terms of the memory, plus it was eating up the resources in terms of utilizing the resources of CPU cycles and all, because the system processes which are running inside the operating system also need resources. So when we are packaging containers, that becomes much lightweight, they are not bulky. Plus, if I want to package them separately, I can do that, and I can share the binaries and libraries when they are running. So in that way, the memory utilization on the server in which they are running is much more better compared to the virtual machine, where we needed a dedicated set of binaries and libraries to be used by a set of application. So here, applications get decoupled from the operating system as well. You would have heard a lot of people saying that I'm running a Linux container on a Windows machine. I'm running a Windows container on a Linux machine. They can't talk the language of each other's. Why? Because this containerization tool which is there, the platform which is existing in between, does the translation. And that is the reason. Like, for example, if I take a Windows machine, I will install Docker for Windows, and on top of it, if I run in a Linux application in a containerized environment, the call which goes to the Windows operating system, which is the host operating system, gets translated in Windows terms. And if I'm running a Windows container on a Linux operating system, thereby the translation is done by the Docker software, which is running on top of the operating system. So this particular layer, the containerized platform which we are talking about, the containerization platform, is the magic which is there behind this, and it is allowing us to run many more things. Because of the bulkiness of the guest operating system which is removed, we can boot up our systems in milliseconds, and we are able to attain a lot of good things out of it. In case I want to scale my applications, compared to virtual machine, I can scale them much more quicker, because a virtual machine would take 2 to 3 minutes to boot up, and my Docker would take 3 to 10 milliseconds to boot up. So there is a huge amount of difference between the boot up time, the packaging, and all those things. And that is the reason people have moved towards Docker containers or any other containers compared to virtual machine, because hardware is very costly and they want to utilize the utmost capacity of the hardware resources which they have with them. So in the present set of hardware, if the utilization with 3 virtual machines is all bar filled, in case of containers, you would see just 1 bar is filled. And if the size of the memory, if you see, if it's using the huge lot of memory in GBs, your containers are using in MBs. And the boot up time is also huge in case of virtual machines, but in case of containers, it is pretty less. So this is the comparison. If we are comparing with something which we know, the analogy, deriving the analogy becomes much more easier. That's the reason we had this pictorial representation. And we understood there are a lot of advantages with virtual machine. I'm not saying that virtual machine is not good. We should not use it. It provided isolation. It provided a way of having the virtual applications run in an environment so that no one disturbs it. So Docker containers or any container technology have carried forwarded this particular thing, and they also have isolation. Some of the kernel features which are there from Linux is being utilized, like the namespace provides isolation, and containers are happy running in isolated environments. They can't trouble each other, right? They are having a dedicated set of resources, and they would only go with those that much of resources. And then we can limit the cap. We can put a cap on the resources with kernel feature called as control groups. And to manage the file system of the complete containers, we are using union file system, which works with full of pointers. And we know the magic of pointers, right? Addressing memory and all those things becomes pretty much easier, quicker, and the utilization of the resources in the memory becomes much more quicker and easier.
Well, that was Docker and Kubernetes expert Mamta talking about Docker versus virtual machine versus physical host, and how Docker provides isolation using namespace and control groups. Now, if you want to attend approximately 90-minute free class with her and myself on Dockers and Kubernetes, containing things like Docker architecture, or what is Kubernetes, or when to use it, the architecture and different components of Kubernetes, and certification on Kubernetes administration, which is one of the hot skills in the market currently, then go and register yourself for this approximately 90-minute free masterclass at ketonacademy.com/Kubernetes02. Now, in the next part 2 of this 5-part video series, I'll bring her back covering Docker architecture and its components. We'll look at things like Docker daemon, images, Docker registry, or clients. We'll also look at the Docker storage as well as networking. So if you have not yet subscribed to our YouTube channel, then don't forget to subscribe by going to youtube.com/subscribe. So you get notification when we post the next video talking about Docker architecture and components. Well, that's all from me, Atul Kumar, from Team Keton Academy, where we help you in your journey to cloud and cloud native applications running on Docker and Kubernetes. I'll see you in next video on Docker architecture and components.